All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 70 of my GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolin. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope you had a great Christmas and have some good plans coming up for New Year's. But we're going to talk about some Star Wars stuff. This week I don't know if we'll, get into any live games. Maybe we'll see if there's anything going on in the old GEMP lobby or something we can pop into and see what's going on. Um, but we're going to kind of do a 2019 look back, year in review. Like everybody does those kinds of things this time of year, right? So let's do something about that, recap everything that's happened in Star Wars CCG in 2019, or as much of it as I can remember. And uh, and then we're going to do a raffle. I got one more raffle left up my sleeve for 2019. We're going to go out with a bang this year, and it's a good one. So you definitely want to stick around and make sure you're in the running for that one. But first, let's do our little slideshow. It's crude, it's rough. I kind of threw it together uh, yesterday, but let's see how this works out. Nope, I need to flip those. There we go. Okay, let's make sure this looks right. Waiting for the stream to catch up. It's about 15 seconds behind. Okay, so 2019 in Star Wars. Well, we started off the year with the Endor Grand Prix, which is also coming up again in just a couple of weeks. They had 28 players last year. It looks like they're actually going to surpass that number this year. I think they've got 29 currently, and I'm sure there's a couple of these guys whose names I don't see on the list who might still make an appearance this year, putting them back over 30. The tournament was won by Jonathan Chu, who we also haven't seen since the Endor Grand Prix. So perhaps we'll be uh, seeing Johnny return to the tables sometime in 2020. But yeah, Matt Sokol, Joe Olson both went 7-1 on the first day. Matt Wadden, Steve Harpster, Chu, Ryan Surson. That was Ryan's first major, and Ryan went all the way, finishing in sixth. And then Brian Fred and world champ Phil Austin rounded out the top eight. Mishki and Jellison were both 5-3 as well, but just missed the cut on their tiebreakers. But they both also had pretty good years, so can't really hold that against them. Chu beat Harpster in the finals. Harpster made it all the way to the finals. Some of you may remember Harpster played 12-card hunt down, and in the finals against Chu, he only drew an 8-card opening hand with his hunt down deck. I think he still ended up winning that game. It was hunt down versus, I think Chu had EBO, and Steve still won that game, but maybe he could have won by a little more. Game two is where we saw the hidden base weapon lockout deck that prompted some errata and some other things. Yes, the creation of Thrawn, Mithronadu, as well as the security precautions V that also was supposed to kind of curb those types of, well, security precautions V had already been out to kind of curb the Mon Cals or the Corvette and the quad laser cannons. And this also kind of came out and Thrawn it didn't quite solve the problem, so then they put Thrawn out there as well. And I don't think we've seen that deck since, really. I mean, it's popped up, maybe in some casual games and things like that, but we haven't really seen it in tournament play, any type of hidden base space weapons deck, really. It's a very complex, very complicated deck to play. Definitely takes some practice and cycling through the motions each and every turn, keeping track of where everything is exactly as you go through your progressions to lose cards and then retrieve them lose weapons and retrieve them with the Baragwins, and then track them back around and then lose them off your deck and retrieve them and keep that loop going. A lot of concentration, a lot of focus, any type of little distractions. Definitely why it's not a deck really good to play at home. Where you have other people who are going to come in and talk to you and interrupt you, and if you kind of lose count, it certainly could throw things off. So Johnny picked up another win there, and Joe had another strong finish as well, setting up what would end up being a very good year for him as well. That's the one thing I forgot to put in here. All right, well, we'll get to that at the end. So that was the Indoor Grand Prix. 28 players, like I said, coming up again in just about 3 weeks here. 3.5 weeks away from the Indoor Grand Prix 2020. It'll be our first event of the 2020 season. I will not be attending this year, and will not be doing commentary like I did last year either, because we'll have on-site commentary with Queso and Reed Smith. So should be a great event. Hope everybody will tune in and watch that. And yeah. After the Indoor Grand Prix came the Match Play Championships, which was won by Chris Kelly. This was Chris's second major win. He had previously picked up a U.S. National Championship. I want to say it was 2016 or 2017. I don't know. It was in Pittsburgh when Chris picked up the win. A lot of strong competitors. We only had 52 players in the field this year, so there were a number of first-round buys. Pre-registration for the 2020 Match Play Championship is now open, so make sure to go ahead and sign up for that. You can start getting your name on the list for that. Hopefully we'll get more than 52 players and get closer to a full bracket. I know it's a little tough. It's a week earlier this year, so we won't conflict with some of the Rutgers events and things in the New Brunswick area. So it's mid-April. So hopefully that'll be a little bit better. And, we'll just see what people have to say and if we need to adjust and if we need to flip-flop things with Seattle again. For some reason, people like having events in New Jersey in the middle of the winter when it's cold and snowy. I don't know why. I'd rather have it in the springtime when you can actually walk to Chipotle and not freeze your ass off. But hey, that's just me. But yes, Map was clearly the most popular deck. And yes, as Sean points out, there was an errata to General Hux shortly thereafter. I feel like Hux may have been errated. Maybe Strategic Reserves was errated sooner, where it just got errated to non-uniques, and then we errated Hux after the MPC to no longer pull Strategic Reserves. Map has gone through so many different little tweaks and changes over the last 2 years, and more yet with the First Order Stormtrooper got changed for the third time. So I'm glad we have those stack of Advocate foils, that you guys, the bounty foils that you guys get for beating the Advocates. That were reissued because we had to make the errata to the troopers. And then 2 months later, they went ahead and errata the trooper again. So now we'll have to print up a third set, I guess, and reissue those. But Chris Kelly picked up the win there. It's his first Match Play Championship, winning over Tom Kelly, who had previously won twice the event. Final four was rounded out by Brian Fred and some schlub named Chris Gogolin. But yeah, that was a great event. Looking forward to the 2021. The MPC is my favorite event of the year. I think that's not much of a surprise. Certainly, the bracket, the hype, the projections, everybody doing their fantasy brackets, certainly adds something extra to this event that you don't get at a lot of other events. And just the fact that because players are kind of limited in who they're playing against, they can talk more freely about certain things once the brackets are released and as the event and as the day goes on. You get kind of some of that extra information or just discussions about things that maybe you normally wouldn't have during a Swiss tournament when you don't know who you might be playing again later. I also want to give a shout out to Trevor Partridge, who picked up the Consolation Bracket Championship. I believe this is the second time that Trevor has won the event. So we are going to say congratulations to him. He was joined in the Final Four by Eric Hunter, Jared Napolitano, and Ming. Eric making his first return to the Star Wars community after a very long hiatus, and was kind enough to jump in on some of the streaming for Worlds a little bit this year. Some of those games, Eric was providing some commentary with Queso and Dan and Mike Turner. So welcome back, Eric, and hopefully we'll see you. I know you just moved back up to Boston, but hopefully we'll see you travel down to the MPC this year, and we'll see Trevor and the rest of the team Pittsburgh come out, and Trevor can try and defend his. You don't really want to defend your consolation event title. You kind of want to win the main event. So maybe this is the year that he makes a run for it. The other thing that happened at the 2019 Match Play Championship, we added to the Star Wars CCG Hall of Fame. There were these two new guys added to the Hall of Fame, Matt Sokol and Chris Gogolin. I would have dressed up a little better if I had known that was going to happen, but surprise, surprise. Congratulations to Matt, certainly a former world champion, and as we saw in the Endor Grand Prix list, he was number one at the end of day one, 7-1 with the highest strength of schedule. Certainly well deserving of the honor, and if any of you remember Matt's emotional induction, which was caught on camera, certainly something that he was very overwhelmed by. So we won't replay that. I thought about putting the video in and just us replaying that, but we're going to keep things in good spirits here. And Matt was very excited, and rightfully so. And I had a little time to prepare going second. Because of the fact that I saw them open up the box and pull out both trophies, and I was like, well, if we're inducting Matt, that other one might be for me. So let me mentally prepare myself on the off chance it is for me, so I feel a little more composed, and I was able to kind of pull that off and pull that together. Hopefully it didn't come across as a little lackluster, or that I wasn't excited about it, because I was incredibly happy and honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with I think there's 8 or 9 other people who are absolutely amazing Star Wars people, not just players and organizers, but they're just great people, and I'm honored to be in that class. We moved on from the Match Play Championship to Online Play Weekend. And these are the two promo foils that were given away. These hologram foils of Kit Fisto and Supreme Leader Snoke were this year's holo foils. So every year in either May or June, I forget exactly when. I want to say it's May. We do Online Play Weekend, where basically all you have to do is play a game of Star Wars online, and then email like your game link along with some other personal information like your name and mailing address to a dedicated Star Wars CCG mailbox, and then presto, you get sent these whatever cool foils we happen to be giving away this year. Last year it was these two. The year before that, I want to say it was Phasma and Cody, and then I think the year before that was Grievous, and I think it was Isla was the light side foil that year. CRG, thank you for joining us this evening. So I'm sure we'll be doing that again this year, and we'll find out what the foils are in late April. Ming, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 7. Awesome. And we'll get those foils, sometime in June, and we'll either get them mailed out or see whatever major is coming up next. We can try and show up and just hand out a bunch of them, which is always easier to do. But yeah, Kit Fisto and Supreme Leader Snoke. These images are still apparently the only images of the card, the only versions, at least that I could find in GEMP. So if you happen to be playing with the Kit Fisto or Snoke in GEMP, you are using the alternate hologram foil versions and not the regular version of the card. I don't know if D&D realizes, or the GEMP programming team realizes, that the only versions are these two, and that they want to put the regular version in for people who may not like the hologram version. I don't know. You didn't get an email alert the show was starting. Oh no, I'm sorry, Chris Kelly. That's weird. That didn't pop up. Usually, maybe it went to your spam this time. But that's okay. You missed the beginning. You missed me talking about your big win at the MPC, so nothing important. But yeah, so we'll get there were over 50 people who submitted games in the U.S. and I think about another dozen in Europe. So hopefully, we'll get the same or even more numbers this year. I mean, GEMP has been growing. I don't know. Some people just don't care about the cards. They don't have regular cards anymore. They only play online. Maybe they don't care about the foils. I'm sure some of you would like to get an extra copy of a foil. So maybe convince your buddy whether he cares or not to make sure he submits his game link. And after online play weekend, we our next major event popped over the pond. I believe it was held in, I want to say, Amsterdam. We had our 2019 European Championships, which was won by Bastian Winkelhaus. You'll hear me say that a lot in the next couple minutes here. Bastian finished second on day one, going 7-1, topped only by two-time world champion Hall of Famer Emil Wallin, who went 8-0. These two battled their way through the top 8 bracket to play against each other. Emil had a flight to catch home. I think they played the first game and Emil lost and just conceded the finals. Or if he, I think that's how that worked out. Or it was a really close game and the other side, the other matchup wasn't going to be good and he was just like, whatever. So he didn't want to change his flight and he had to go. So he just gave Bastian the win. I forget the exact details about that. Once again, Jimmy pulled his usual qualify for the top 8 and then drop and not play. At least this year he did it the day before. Usually Jimmy ends up playing in the top 8, winning his first round to go to the top 4, and then drops and gives his opponent a bye into the finals to leave and drive back from wherever it is all the way back to France. I think Jimmy is is moved for work now and is actually in the Middle East, so we may not be seeing him around any European events in the near future. But I'm sure Kevin and Tom both appreciated. I think Vieco was riding with Jimmy, so they both left and went home. But Kevin and Tom certainly took advantage of that and moved up into the top 8 and got some top 8 prizes and a chance to possibly win a European championship. Hulet Menzel coming fourth. All these other guys. You've got Team Europe has some stacked players. Certainly some quality players. Kuhn, Chris. These guys are Kieran, Paul, Kevin, Tom. Some of these guys are on Team Europe for the Outrider Cup. Chris, the the marketing advocate. So certainly, Angelo, not one of his usual finishes, but playing OA and ROPS, I wouldn't be surprised if those were 8-time games. So, anything can happen when time is called. Never leave it in the hands of the judges, right? That's what they always tell you. You got to finish. You want to win, you got to finish the game. So, not yet. Not yet. He's still marketing advocate until Thursday. So, or until they name a new one, which they haven't done yet either. But yeah, the European Championships. They had 25 players for this event. Certainly was a spectacular tournament, and they tested out some video recording equipment to at least record the games at the event, and then they submitted the videos, and Jerry and I were able to do at least a few games of the top 8 and stuff, to do some commentary on those, just as replay videos and things like that. But yeah, that was the European Championship. We had our North American Championship after that. That was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was also called the John Anderson Memorial Tournament. This tournament was dedicated to the memory of John Anderson, who we lost last year. And we finally were able to organize something. There was a Minnesota Twins game that a lot of players went to on Friday night. We had about 30 tickets or so for that. And we put up a message on the I should have put that in here too. There was a message on the big jumbotron during the game in memory of John. John's family was there Saturday morning. His mom gave a very heartfelt speech and thanks to all the players that came to the event, and she brought along some of John's personal memorabilia and Star Wars collectibles and things that she put out on display, and invited people to take home as souvenirs to add to their collections, and take a piece of John with them. Uh, I agree with you, Kay. So he was a good dude, and a lot of us still miss John, seeing him at big events and all that kind of stuff. But we had over 60 players at the tournament. I could only fit the top 51 or so here without making it too small to read. Um, Joe Olson, Tom Haid, Chris Werfs, Brian Mischke, all 7-1, had tremendous performances. Reed, Greg, Adam, and Matt Scott rounded out the 6-2s. There were no we didn't do play-in games at this event. It was just a strict top 8 cut, I believe. And Charlie and Phil missed the cut there. Greg Shaw went on to win the tournament, breaking out the Legend deck, which we had not really seen yet in competitive play. That deck certainly went on to draw some attention from a lot of people in terms of both just the style of the deck itself and the mechanics, which are still under review on the watch list, if you will, for things that might need to be prompted. Some scrub at number 12. Yeah, some scrub at number 12 that was literally that close to the top 8. So had a bad break in my game against Greg Shaw, which happened to be featured on camera. I went for the home run. I'll talk about it. I bet you wish there was a play-in. Nah, not at number 12. I wouldn't have been a play-in there. But I'll talk about this. I think I may have talked about this before, but let's run you through the scenario. So turn 2, I'm playing map. I'm going for a huge beatdown on Greg Shaw. He's got 4 guys. He's playing no idea. He's got 4 guys parked in the bunker, and I've got Kylo, Dr. E, Phasma, and a couple of troopers in my hand. And I just have like one gun. Look at my reserve deck. No Kylo's lightsaber. Well, that was a bad play playing Greg. Greg and I actually predicted that we would play each other before the start of Game 7. We found out what our matchups were. We're like, so we're both going to win, and then because we're close enough in standings, we'll be opposite sides, and then we'll play each other Game 8, right? And of course, that's exactly what happened. But yeah, so I got 17 force activated. Look at my force pile. I'm sorry, look at my reserve deck. No Kylo's lightsaber. All right. Deploy Dr. E. Deploy Kylo. Spent 9. Get a used pile search. No lightsaber. Deploy. Actually pay extra to deploy the trooper. Maybe I deployed them backward. To put more cards in my force pile. Deploy Phasma. Get a used pile search. Now I've got like 2 or 3 force left. Still no lightsaber. So I have to just throw down the gun and then battle. I shoot one of his guys. Dr. E makes him immediately lost. I add Destiny. I draw a bunch of 5s, and, I clear all his guys and do like 3 overflow. But if I had Kylo's lightsaber, I'd have picked off one more guy, and then he would have lost like 9 more cards. And since Greg only won that game by about 12, that probably would have done it. I don't know. He would have bounced back from that turn too. Certainly, the whole game would have played out a lot differently from that point. But the lightsaber was one of the 2 cards remaining in the bottom of my force pile. So that was a bad break. There's your bad beat story for 2019. I'm sure everybody has one of those. That's Star Wars. Some games you can manipulate things a little better. Some games it just comes down to just what you draw and when. And if you shuffle your deck and the cards are stuck on the bottom, well, you're stuck. You're never seeing those cards all game. In our game, it's a little easier to manipulate some stuff, especially if you you have different ways to search and things for that. But I'm very glad for my good friend Greg, who not only knocked me out of the tournament, but then went on to win the tournament. So if he had lost Sunday, especially in like the top 8 or something, that would have been a little bit more disappointing, thinking, oh, well, I could have done better than him. But he went on and won the whole tournament, so I feel a little better about that. So exactly, yep. Got to see the Legend deck, which he got the deck list for about 15 minutes before the tournament started, and submitted it, and then scrambled to find all the cards to actually round the deck out, so he could actually submit the deck with it for deck checks. I think we ended up checking his dark side deck first, while he finished putting all the cards together for the light side list. I think he had to like borrow cards from one or two people to get that done, but that was a KTOD creation that he got last minute, and congratulations again. And again, thanks to the 60 plus people who showed up for the John Anderson tournament. I know a lot of people were wearing Minnesota Vikings jerseys, Adrian Peterson jerseys, if you will, in memory of John, who always used to wear those to Star Wars events. Greg would look better with the Dejarik tattoo. I think Bill has the rights to those in their partnership. All right, so that was late August, and then there was a pretty quick turnaround before the next major event, our final major of the year, which was the 2019 World Championships, which was also won by Bastian Winkelhaus. Bastian not only became the first person to ever win back-to-back World Championships in the 20-plus year history of our game, he also became a three-time world champion, breaking the tie that he was in with Johnny Chu, Emil Wallin, Justin Desai, and Kevin Shannon. The five of them all had two titles, and Bastian broke that tie, picking up his third win along the way. He defeated Brian Mischke in the final. Most of you will remember the infamous Quite a Mercenary. Brian was playing map against Old Allies. He went to Ellis, a big chunk of the characters in his deck, over to lay a beatdown on Bastian, who had saved to force, and played Quite a Mercenary to make all those guys immediately lost. Brian got run over by, I think it was somewhere in the high 20s in that game. He sat down to play game two. He was playing Throne Room. He looked at his starting hand. He had no activation, no pullers. Um, he pulled the docking bay, did a quick count, and went, all right, none of the cards in my force pile are activation, pullers, or sights either, and just said, screw it. I can't win by 20 something when I'm already going to be, a full turn and a half behind and activating like 5 or 6 force. So Bastian picked up his world championship. This was a tremendous event. We had nearly 70 players there, over 20 of them from America. This was held in Germany, and a number of guys decided early on that they were going to go. Hayes decided pretty early, Joe, that they were going to go, and they started trying to get some people together. Let's get some Americans together. Casey jumped, and Kessling jumped right on that. And then a lot of other players started, Tom, a lot of other players started to round out the field. Menzel started organizing an event where he was going to do a little sightseeing tour after the tournament, which I know the Westergaards and a few other people, Kessling, stuck around for, the Carulis as well. And they went to some beer gardens, Oktoberfest, all that fun stuff. Hayes, Tom, and some of the other people, Casey, they arrived a week earlier instead, Jan, and they started their tour in Amsterdam and experienced all that Amsterdam has to offer before slowly traveling their way into Germany. Live stream for Worlds, which is the first time we've had live streaming at a European event. Certainly not without its bumps and some bandwidth issues that, of course, was not the highest quality stream, but it was a good product. It was a way for people to keep up with what was going on, stay engaged as to what was happening. who was doing well, what decks are being played, and that kind of stuff throughout the weekend. Um, yeah, and had plenty of last people. A lot of people got to meet Silverglen in real life for the first time. He hasn't made it to an American event yet, so America went to Europe to meet Justin in person. He's been interviewed on the Hollow Theater show with Queso a couple times. Um, some scrub at 14. Yeah, yeah, some scrub who started 5-0 and then jet lag and sleep just totally took over, and just completely punted the last three games hard. Oh, it was ugly. Um, I played Bastion game six, and you have to if you want to win against Bastion, you have to not really make mistakes and play pretty flawlessly. And I punted that game so hard. Uh, Matt Crewley game seven was like, I know exactly what I have to do to beat his deck, and I did none of those things. And then game eight against Joe Olson was just that game actually just I started to play better after losing horribly to Matt. I managed to get some food and just recover a little bit. But matchup against Joe just was not a good game to begin with, and then he set up a run Luke run that which I think he soloed from the lost pile. I think he deployed solo and then played the run Luke run from the lost pile to move Luke over, and yeah, so that was all she wrote for my world championship. But I still had an amazing time. It was even more incredible because of the fact, well, a number of things. One, I got to show up and surprise people. I didn't tell anybody I was going. So walking into the bar where they're holding the tournament, and the people are just going, "What the hell is he doing here?" That was pretty amazing. Somebody spoiled the photo on the PC forums, so people who hadn't shown up at the event yet were like, "Wait a second, what the hell is Chris Gogolin doing there?" Um, so yeah, and I made it all the way to the hotel, to my room, and everything without anybody seeing me. I actually ran away. I saw John Veazey in the train station and like ducked behind a crowd of people and like ran the other way so that I wouldn't end up seeing anybody, so it could be a complete and total surprise. As you know, as I'm walking out of the hotel to go to the venue, who do I run into? Brian freaking Fred. And what does Brian Fred proceed to do? What Brian Fred always does. He opens his mouth. Usually it's for a good reason. We love Brian Fred. But Brian Fred gets to the venue before me because he got a ride from DDM, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Gogolin's on his way." It's like, you son of a bitch. I don't know why I didn't think of it to tell him, like, dude, don't say anything. But he was kind of gone before I could. Um, Still, hell of an event. Great time meeting a lot of the European players for the first time in person. A few of these guys I'd met, as they've traveled over to American events before. Emil and Angela have been coming to tournaments for a while, but getting to meet, we can run the list. I mean, I've been playing Bastion for years. Meeting Stefan for the first time, Kieran in person, the whole team Wales, the Welsh Dragons. You got Mark the Pirate, you got Kevin, John Morley. There's a few other. I can't scroll when I do that. Yeah, all those guys were just a blast to meet in person. Of course, we all, we're excited about meeting Silver Glenn. He was the most popular guy, I think, of the tournament. All the American guys really wanted to meet him and talk to him. Um, he's a cool dude. I can understand why. I actually got a ride back to the airport with him Monday morning at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We drove back to the airport together for about the first mile and a half with the parking brake on, because he was still half asleep, I think. So if I ever go to a UK tournament or something, I'll be sure to I'll do the driving. Other things that happened at the World Championship, I mentioned earlier, Bastion was reinducted into the Hall of Fame. Bastion was part of the Decipher Hall of Fame. I found this little gem from 2002. You've got a young Bastion Winklehouse. Doesn't look like he's changed all that much. He has a little less hair now, but for the most part, pretty much still the same guy. But we wanted to make sure we included Bastion in the Players Committee Hall of Fame. It's pretty much 90% of the people who were at this event are no longer associated with the game. Some of these are some Trek people and some of this other stuff, some Decipher employees. That's Sean Smallman back there, I believe, who was one of the online. He was like the tournament guy online who did all the ratings and things with the website and stuff for Decipher. Um, but yeah, Bastion wearing his Lord Vader T-shirt was part of the initial and the inaugural 2002 class of the Decipher Hall of Fame, and then he was reinducted into the Star Wars CCG Players Committee Hall of Fame. So now he's a two-time Hall of Famer as well as three-time world champion, certainly cementing his case to be considered the greatest of all time. The other thing that came out of the World Championships this year was Beer Wars. What? Another Welsh Dragon creation. They created their own fun little game and surprised everyone with it. And they basically took these images and created cards of all the players who had pre-registered for the tournament. So I was not included in that list because I didn't tell anybody I was going. To which the first thing when I met Kevin Yap, I walked into the room and Kevin was like, "Oh my God, you're here! You fucked up," were his exact words. And now I've just blown our PG-13 rating. Getting inducted into two Hall of Fame sounds like something from those Dos Equis commercials. Yeah, the most interesting man in the world, Bastian Winkelhaus. It certainly could be. But yeah, it was the first words I think Kevin said to me were, "You effed up." I was like, "Hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you, too." But yes, they did just put the PDF out there with the cards and the rules and everything like that. It is on I think it's in the general forums. We'll go back and show you where you can find that. If you're interested in downloading the rules of the game or printing out your own cards. I was very excited to see that I did make the updated version that they just released with the rule book and everything. So they did sneak me in that way into the initial set. I guess version 1.2 or whatever it is. So, but everyone was very excited about that and looking forward to if there will be future expansions or other rules additions. But yeah, Saturday night and Sunday, a lot of people were sitting around the bar because the tournament was held in a bar, by the way. Great people who own that place and run that place. Was absolutely fabulous time, and thanks to them for basically donating the space to us. They basically closed almost all their other regular customers so we could completely take over their whole venue for 3 days. And yeah, a lot of people sitting around playing Beer Wars. I think there's some great photos of some of the some of the Team America guys all sitting around trying to read the rules and play some games of Beer Wars throughout the weekend, and trading cards and things like that, because they gave everybody like 20 copies of your own card. Some people were like, they would just go up to each other and swap cards to try and get as many as they could from all the different players. Certainly was a big hit. People were talking about it a lot after the tournament was over, and now to have it released and available for the masses. Big thanks to the Welsh Dragons. That whole team, those guys do a tremendous job. Kevin leads that group, Kevin Yap. He gets a lot of the credit. But I know a lot of the other guys, they do the work with him. And I'm sure without all their help, he would not be nearly as productive as he has been. But they produce all the OCS foils, the online weekend foils that you've seen, a lot of the other pre-registration foils and things like that, and those types of prizes. And putting together the packs that I gave away the last couple weeks on the show. And all that good stuff. So to see Beer Wars out and certainly being popular, just another testament to their abilities. The final event, if you will, of the 2019 year was the Online Championship Series, which wrapped up in November. We had our top 16. We played for 7 months. There were over 100 different people who played games in the Online Championship Series, and a total of 2,529 online games played. That is awesome. We narrowed it down to 16 people. There were 7 months, so the top two from each month qualified, and then there were two at-large bids given out to the people who didn't qualify but had the highest point totals. You'll see a lot of the same familiar names on here and a couple of people who you don't normally see as they pretty much play exclusively online. Tom Struther, Gavin Ortland. Um, Gavin occasionally plays in person, but for the most part, he's just an online player. But these two are constantly online playing games on GEMP. A lot of other familiar names, familiar faces. Adam Trunzo, who just made his first top 8 at the North American Continentals. That was one of his first major events. He makes the top 8 at that. I think it was the second. I think he was there 2 years ago when we held Worlds in Minnesota in 2017. And then making it to the top 8 of that event, and then the top 16 here of the OCS. But, a lot of Chris Werf's made a good run. Of course, Bastion continuing his dominant year. Justin Branch, Greg Shaw also with great performances again. But it was an all-European final between Bastion and Justin, which Bastion ended up winning, adding his third title of the year, and still came up just short in Player of the Year points. Actually, it's because this event goes for next year's Player of the Year points, which I haven't started compiling the list for that yet. Joe Olson was our 2019 Player of the Year. We'll look at that list in a second. But through top performances, I think he made the final 4 of the Indoor Grand Prix of the North American Continentals, and won a couple of regionals and things. And then he was top 8 of last year's OCS playoffs, or top 4 of last year's OCS playoffs. He got blown out by Mike Gem pretty bad against his EBO deck. He got like a 30 force overflow in space battle on like turn 2. But that was in the top 4, I believe. And then, top 4 again at the World Championship. So Joe was our Player of the Year. I don't have a graphic for that. I'm sorry, Joe. I forgot about Player of the Year. We'll go look at the standings when I'm done with that. So, but yes, Bastion picking up his third title of the year. And I'm sure it was a lovely Christmas in the Winkle House home with all the prize money he accumulated this year just from playing Star Wars. The other big thing, of course, that I do want to point out from 2019 was our weekly Twitch and YouTube content. We had this show, of course, which we all have grown to love. And then we have the Holotheater show, which started back up. Jerry had done the Holotheater show in 2018 with Robbie as his co-host. But Robbie has, taken a step back from things. Did return for the Jawa Cup, but now Jerry has found a new co-host with Dan Tartaglione, and the two of them have been doing about 9 or 10 episodes of the Holotheater show, and I'm sure they will start that back up again in sometime in mid-January, maybe just in time before. I don't know if they'll do a show before the Endor Grand Prix, or if we'll get some Holotheater after the Endor Grand Prix. And of course, I'll keep plugging away as often as I can with my weekly show. But just one of the things that we love doing is providing, additional online content and feedback. They do a lot of interviews with top players. I get to do the GEMP game reviews and give players feedback. Just talk overall strategy and looking at specific examples of things, and trying to help the community, help the player base continue to learn and improve their game. And any way I can, and just again, keep creating regular Star Wars content. If you can't catch us during the weekly Twitch shows when we're live, and you guys all get to participate, there's the Bad Deck Breakdown podcasts, which Kendall just started doing a couple months ago, as well. Those I have not listened to yet because I'm not a podcast kind of guy, but I know a lot of other people are. They listen to them in the car or at the gym or those kinds of things. Ironically enough, my show I started with a podcast way back when, um, and kind of moved off that format once I realized all the different streaming abilities available. But yeah, we'll keep bringing you regular content in 2020, and thank you guys all for watching each week. And again, if you can't catch the Twitch show when we're live, I do my show Mondays. I think the Hollow Theater show is on Wednesday nights. Um, all of the videos do get moved over to YouTube, so you can watch them there at your leisure. And the last thing, which Jerry mentioned a little earlier, we do of course want to talk about, is our departing marketing advocate, Chris Menzel. After several years in the marketing department and 15 years as Euro Emperor, Chris Menzel is not stepping away from the game, but he is stepping down from his advocate job. He'll be transitioning that off to whoever the new advocate is who takes that over. They're currently accepting applications on the PC site. There's a way to do that. So at the World Championships, we had this little twin sun setting over Tatooine, banner that Kevin and this is Tomas Pop right there behind Chris. The two of them will be taking over the Euro Emperor responsibilities. They're kind of splitting that up between a couple of the top European guys because, Chris was a one-man machine, and it's a lot of responsibility to take on. So they're kind of dividing that up. They're in great hands with Tomas, but they printed up this banner, and all the players at the tournament all signed it for Chris, so he can frame it or whoever he wants to choose to display it. And then of course he made time to have at least one beer with his good friends at the venue there, and actually crack a smile, which he always looks so tired, he always looks so exhausted. But to see Chris with a smile on his face certainly made it all worth it. We wish Chris the best of luck. Spending more time with his family. He's 50 now, and he's got I want to say his newest child is about a year and a half old now. So the old man not quite chasing the ball around the yard as much. Needs to enjoy that time while he can, and can't spend all of it hanging out with us Star Wars nerds. So we wish Chris the best of luck. We know we'll still see him at tournaments. Maybe he'll actually get to play a little bit more, so he can have more of these top 8 performances. So we won't be so surprised when you see his name on the list, like we did with the European Championship. And Tomas, I'm sure, will step in, probably continuing doing most of the tournament director duties at the events, as well as some of the other guys who will help out with all of the organization and planning. Europe's in a good spot. I can say that with a lot of confidence after meeting these guys in person. They're in a good spot. They're going to continue to do well and continue to have great major events, and anything we can do to continue to get more streaming coverage and things like that of the European events, I think can only benefit our community. Yeah, Menzel did so much work for so many years, just trying to bridge the gap between things and between the communities, and I think that's his legacy, is kind of bringing us all together back into one community. It had kind of been separated for a little while, where it was USA and Europe, and they're doing their events, and we're doing our events, and we're holding our world championships, and if they want to be a world champion, well, they can get on a plane and fly over here. And it was like, we all love this game. We all want to be a part of it, and what can we do to not make it so disconnected? And Chris found a way to sort of bridge things back together. We had our first Euro Worlds back in 2012, and they got it again in 2019, which was a great way to give the Emperor his little swan song there, if you will. But it's the thing about emperors, you never know when they're going to pop up again. So we look forward to seeing the Euro Emperor sometime soon, and find out who the new marketing advocate will be to replace him. He jokingly told me at the event that he wanted me to take his job. It's just like, what? So, I don't know. But that's going to conclude our little slideshow presentation. That was fun. That didn't take too long to put together. But I did promise you guys a raffle. And in honor of uh, it being the end of the year and wanting to go out with a bang here, uh, I'm going to be giving away 9 total foil cards. One foil set. These are from the 2018 Online Championship Series. These were the monthly prize foils. Director Krennic, Sabine Wren, I Will Finish What You Started, Prophecy of the Force, Mara Jade's VC Decimator, Ghost, Admiral Radis, a non-hologram Supreme Leader Snoke, and General Kenobi, the Perfect Attendance foil, as well. All 9 of these, one set, one lucky winner. All you have to do is type !raffle in the chat. Just like I just did right there. That'll enter you into the drawing, which we'll do in about 30-ish seconds. So give everybody a chance. Hopefully you didn't all fall asleep at the wheel. Looks like there's about 20 people in the chat. If you already have a set of these, you know, whether you happened to play all your games last year to earn them or acquired them some other way. DVP himself is in the, as you can see him in the in the GEMP chat posting, because apparently he can't log into Twitch to post there. We'll keep this open for just a few more seconds here. That Kenobi is a cool foil. There you have everybody in the GEMP chat just starting to type raffle. What? Raffle? Huh? Raffle? What? Is Apollyon even watching? Let's find out. I can check that. I think I can check that. I mean, there's 17 people watching. There used to be a way where you could see. Who the people in the chat room were. Maybe not. All right, so let's see what we got. We'll put them in as at the last 2 spots. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because Kimura posted twice because he typoed raffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we'll put DVP as 11 and Apollyon as 12. We need a random number generator between 1 and 12. Best of luck to everybody. Number 12. Congratulations to Apollyon. Jason, you have just won yourself a set of 2018 Online Championship Series foils. I'll get those mailed out to you in the next couple days here, so hopefully you'll have them to start the new year. And thank you all for participating in for watching the chat. You guys want to recount? I didn't rig it. It's Google's random number generator. I have no control over the order of these things. We'll continue to do these raffles and giveaways throughout the year. I've done a couple of them, around the holidays, and we'll space them out a little bit. We might have some stuff that maybe we'll give away during the Endor Grand Prix Twitch live stream. I don't know. That'll be something we'll have to coordinate and work out with whoever the new marketing advocate is, too. Well, for right now, it'll still be Chris, so we'll just find out whatever we got. I still have some stuff from last year. I'll just start giving that stuff away again, and like I did with these foils. Maybe we'll get out some more during the during the Endor Grand Prix in 3 weeks. Thank everybody for watching the stream and all that stuff. But if you're interested in the Beer War stuff, if you go to the general discussion, you can check out the bad deck breakdowns. I think Corin. Let's see if he's got links to his stuff. Yeah, he's got his Kendall cast. He'll talk about his different decks and things. You can find that there. I think it's also in his signature. Yeah, there's his signature. It's also in the bottom of. Did it get moved? No, Merry Christmas from Team Wales. So this is where you can find, if you're interested in the Beer Wars, yeah, he typoed the PDF title. They did a little write-up where you can read this other old thread about why they created the game, and then if you're interested in downloading, if you haven't already, I mean, it's been downloaded 74 times already, so a number of you have already gotten your hands on this. That's where you can find the Beer Wars stuff. But I also forgot, and I did want to make sure to go back. Player of the Year 2019 was won by Joe Olson with his 34 points, edging out Brian Mischke's 29 and Bastion's 28. The events included in this, you had the 2018 OCS, Endor Grand Prix, MPC, European Championship, North American Continentals, and World Championship, as well as a number of regionals and state tournaments that all people accumulated points throughout. Joe had the best finish, 34 points, based on a number of top fours, just being very consistent throughout the year. Bastion, I think, was eliminated in the top, I want to say, top 8, I think, of the OCS last year, so his point total was just a little lower. And, after winning this year's OCS, I'm sure when I update the list, he'll be on the top. I'll probably do that after Endor. We'll compile. I know there was just a Netherlands tournament as well. They're regional or something. So we'll get that list updated and get our 2020 Player of the Year points. But the thing to remember, of course, is the Player of the Year points now actually has a little bit of significance with the Outrider Cup, which is the other event that'll be coming up soon. Team Europe, Team USA. For those of you curious, Team Europe and USA are tied, 3 wins each. Kieran, Stefan, and Bastion picked up wins for Team Europe. Desai, Olsen, and Mischke picked up wins for Team USA. They will be announcing in 2 days. Bastion will be on Wednesday. Bastion will be announcing the pairings for round number 2. Players will then have through the weekend to submit decks, and next week, starting on January 7th, which will be Tuesday, is when players can start playing their games. For that, we'll be trying to live stream as many as we can. We found out last time that didn't really work so well because of the time zone differences between Europe and West Coast, Central, East Coast, North America. You're talking anywhere from 6 to 9 hours of time zone differences. Had hoped that more people would play on the weekends so we could live stream stuff, but they always seem to play randomly at like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday because one guy took a half day off work and the other guy is playing before he goes to bed. So, we got some replay links and we replayed most of these games. Um, you can still see some of these videos on YouTube of those games. We don't have links for the Mishki Tom game. Um, I was actually just kind of PO'd that they couldn't. They announced it. They were going to play at 2:30. Apparently, they don't know how time zones work because they started playing at 1:30 um, Eastern time because Mishki was subtracted an hour instead of adding an hour because he doesn't know how time zones work. And we didn't find out about it until about 15 minutes after the game started. And I just never bothered to ask for replay links after that one to do a catch-up stream. So we don't have that one. Maybe we'll go back and do it later. But we'll try and do as many games for the 2020 stream. Here's the deck lists for round 1. I'm sure people will be more excited about the deck lists for round 2 because these are the post-errata deck lists. So we'll see what kind of tweaks the top players make to all of their popular decks. I'm sure we'll still see Robson Throne Room and all of those other stuff. Map, Diplo, those things that all got tweaked. I'm sure we'll see their best versions show up here. Very few of these players are on. Our Werfs will of course be there, but none of the Europeans will be at the Endor Grand Prix, and half of the Americans may not. Mishki possibly. Shaw doesn't seem likely. I don't think Chris Kelly's going. Desai definitely not. So Werfs and Olsen will definitely be there. But in terms of trying to keep things to themselves for Endor, I doubt we'll see that happen. I think we'll see some of the best versions of the best decks being played, and then that'll give everybody a couple of days to look over the lists before the Endor Grand Prix and possibly make any last-minute updates to their versions, and then we'll see what kind of impact. Maybe that's a question Queso can ask people when you're at the event. People, if they have looked at the Outrider Cup deck lists and how that influenced any of their deck choices or deck decisions. Might just be a good random interview question if you're interviewing any of the players between matches or just, having some conversation. I should probably tell Reed this because Queso's going to be too high to think about anything and remember much of anything to begin with. So, but any of you guys are there, just remember that this is kind of what we talked about. So let's find out if the Outrider Cup deck lists influenced any of your deck decisions or card slot choices for the Endor Grand Prix. Okay, I think we caught up on everything. It's been a hell of a year. It's been a very good year. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited about 2020 as well. We've got the Endor Grand Prix. We've got the Match Play Championship, pre-registration now available. The Outrider Cup will finish up here in 2 weeks. And then, we'll get into all kinds of other stuff. Oh, I forgot local tournament weekend. That was the other thing we did. We did local tournament weekend. I gotta recap that too. I don't want anything to feel left out. So we did local tournament weekend, where if you held an event at your local gaming store, you got copies of the BB-8 in Black Squadron 1 card foil as the exclusive to that event. And we encourage people all over the world to hold events on one of these 2 weekends. We gave 2 weekends out. It was the November 9th and 10th and the 16th and 17th. And there were events literally all over the world. Manitoba, Canada, Uganda, Berlin, Netherlands, England, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, I believe there were 2 in Virginia. So we'll be doing that again next fall, bringing that back, of course. And we want to encourage people to continue playing in their local live events as well as playing on GEMP. We know GEMP is fun. GEMP is great. You don't have to leave your house. It enforces the rules for you. But it is good to get out there once in a while, too. Play with the real physical cards. Have face-to-face conversations with the people in the community. I see people post all the time on Facebook like, wow, I'm looking for players. I just found my old cards in the basement and I want to play again. Um, there is a whole section for that. Forum guidelines, new player info. Check it out. Including things like you got new player areas, frequently asked questions, basic rules tutorial. There is a player locator somewhere too. I forget exactly where that is. Is it in here? I forget where that is. There's a player locator too. Maybe it's in the announcements. Do you guys remember where that is? Here's all things about the donor tier systems. The marketing advocate application still being accepted. You can take my job. Information about the Twitch subscriptions. Of course, continue to renew your subscriptions on Twitch to get to your 12 months, to get your I Want That Map foil and your orange poker chip. All kinds of different stuff going on in the old announcements thread. Yeah, I guess I don't remember where it is. I don't know. Nobody's posting in chat. Do you guys remember? I thought it was here in the resource section. Maybe it's just in the general resource section. Beginner decks. My old article series, where I actually just used to write articles for new and returning players instead of doing streams. So you could just read stuff from here. This is where it started all back in 2013. I was writing those articles. Wow. 6 years ago. Holy cow. The time sure does fly, doesn't it? That's actually on my 2020 to-do list, is create some real basic introductory tutorials videos using GEMP, showing people the basic rules of the game, how the cards work, how they interact with each other. And if anybody would like to assist with that project, I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated. Although I'll wait for the new marketing advocate to decide, find out who that is and see maybe he wants to do something. I don't know. I can't find it. There's a player locator on here somewhere. It's its own forum. Oh, it's down here at the bottom. I didn't scroll down enough. Hey, thanks. Player locator. So here you go. Player locator. Started by Chris Kelly way back when, before he was an advocate. So there's a European one, there's an America one, and yeah, depending on what state you're in, you might find. Now, some of these people may not still be around, may not still play, but they're on the list, and as people move, sometimes they update some stuff, or they forget to update stuff when they move. But there's players all over the country, and I'm sure if you're popped up in an area and are looking for people to play against, this would be a good place to start and go from there. Yeah, we got to move Gornall. He's in Colorado now. So there's all kinds of people all around the country here. But thank you guys for reminding me where that forum is. If one were so inclined to fly into New Jersey for the MPC, what would be the best route? Fly to Newark Airport, take the train from Newark Airport on the Northeast Corridor line to New Brunswick, New Jersey. It's about a 40-minute train ride, maybe a little less. 35-minute train ride from New Brunswick. You go basically take the train from Newark south into New Brunswick. You get off the train station, you walk a quarter of a mile, and you're at the hotel. Um, all within walking distance. And when the tournament is held in April, the weather's usually pretty good. Might be a little bit of rain. You never know. But certainly a hell of a lot better than walking in January when it's 12 degrees. Although today it's 52, so who knows what the heck the weather's going to do with all this global warming we got going on, right? Um, you can fly to Philly and drive up. You can fly to LaGuardia and stuff too, but that's a lot more, a lot more trains involved, or renting cars and driving. The 100% easiest way that involves no extra expenses or hassles is take the train. That's one of the big benefits of this tournament is its location and its ease of accessibility. So hopefully, Reckless Charlie, we will see you in New Brunswick in April. And I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. I know my throat's getting a little sore from yapping for an hour and almost 15 minutes now. So I want to thank you guys all very much for watching, for subscribing to the Twitch channel, for just being awesome people and engaging. Um, I wish you all. I hope you had a great 2019. Wish you all a happy new year. I will not be doing a show next Monday night. I have to work late one night every month, and my night I was assigned is next Monday. So instead of working my usual 8:30 to 5, I have to work 11:30 to 8. I don't know why, but they have a floating late night people, but they have people who also work in Colorado and California. So I don't know why they're not just all working their regular hours, but I'm not in charge, so I don't get to make those decisions. So next Monday I'll be working till 8 p.m. and then yeah, have to eat some dinner and then get back up at 7:30 the next morning for my regular work hours. So we'll be doing no show next week, and we'll come back the week after that. And I'm sure somewhere between now and then, maybe we'll get some uh, of those Outrider Cup games streamed. But you guys have a happy New Year. I'm sorry, Dan, I will not be your New Year's Eve date this year. You're on your own. Um, but take care. May the force be with you, and have a great night.